So first, before we even get started, we're gonna turn on two add-ons that come with Blender already, but they're not on by default, and having them on will make your life way easier. So let's go to Edit, Preferences, and here in the Add-ons tab, we're gonna activate Add Mesh Extra Objects and Mesh Loop Tools. Also here in the Input tab, I have Emulate 3 button mouse on, and what this is gonna do is let you select loops by double-clicking, which you're gonna see me doing a lot. And here on Key Map, be sure to have Tab for Pie menu and Extra Shading Pie menu items on too. And now that we're all set, we're gonna click here and save Preferences. So first, let's select the cube with right click. Let's hit X to delete it because we're gonna start off with a new object. And now we hit Shift A to bring up the Objects menu. We go up to Mesh and check this out. These are the extra objects we just installed. And we're gonna go and select Round Cube. And from the menu down here, we're gonna change the radius to 1. And the reason we do this instead of just choosing a sphere is because the sphere has triangles, but this guy here has all square faces, so it's way easier to manipulate. Okay, so now that we have our starting object ready, let's add a reference image. If you wanna use the same image I'm using, you can download it from the link in the video description. So we hit Shift A, Image, Reference, and we go and find our concept image. But before we leave this menu, let's uncheck Align to View. Now let's make our frog stand up by first pressing 1 on the numpad to go to the front view, and now we press 5 to get out of the perspective view. Now we press R to rotate and X to rotate only on the X-axis. Now we go to the image settings here, we press front so our image will be seen before the cube, and we'll lower the transparency enough to see the cube behind. Wait, let me lower the transparency a bit more. And then we're gonna delete half of our object so we can mirror the other half and work only on one side. So let's select it, we press Tab to enter edit mode. And first we're gonna go into this viewport shading menu up here and click on X-rays, and when we select stuff with the lasso tool, the stuff on the back will be selected too. So let's press and hold up here and select lasso. And now drag to select this half of the object. Now we press X to bring up the delete menu and we choose vertices. And now we go to the modifier menu here with the wrench icon and we select mirror, and we're gonna click on clipping so our vertices merge in the middle instead of overlapping. We're also gonna make our object smooth by adding a subdivision surface modifier, and we add 2 subdivision levels, which means our mesh is gonna pretend to be subdivided twice. Now let me adjust the object transparency first from the X-ray settings up here. And you can see the object still looks faceted, and that's because we need to do some stuff with the normals first. I'm gonna give a very quick explanation of what the normals are. A normal is like a line that shoots from the face of an object, and it tells Blender how those faces are gonna be oriented. So we need to tell Blender we want a smooth transition between these normals. For that, you can press Ctrl F on edit mode, but I'm in object mode, so I'm gonna hit right click and shade smooth. I'm gonna already open a second window so I can have a preview of the model in real time. So I'm gonna go up here, left click and drag in from the outer corner to bring in a new window. And then on this new window, we press Z to bring up the shading menu and we choose material preview. And then again to toggle the overlays off. And now I go into edit mode. I select all of these lower vertices and press G to grab them and move them up. And now I'm gonna grab these other guys here and move them up as well so they match the reference. Okay, we're gonna make the eyes now. I'm gonna select this vertex here and press X and delete. And now I'm gonna select this loop of vertices by double clicking here in between these 2 vertices. Then right click, and from the loop tools menu that we turned on before, we're gonna select circle and check that. Awesome. Now from the front view, I'm gonna adjust the vertices a bit to adjust them to the reference. Let's select the circle loop by double clicking like before. And we're gonna press E to extrude it up and S to scale it a little bit. Then E again, S to scale the loop in, And I'm also pressing G to move the loop around. I extrude and scale one more time. And then to close the loop, we extrude, scale in, and press M and center to merge all the vertices in the final loop together in the center and close the loop. Okay, now let me lower the model transparency and bring up the reference image. And I enter edit mode because now we need to add more resolution to this area here. So we're gonna hit Ctrl R and stand here, which is where we want the loop. Now left click and left click again to confirm. Now I'm gonna move some stuff around again to match the reference. And check this, if you wanna move an edge or a vertex along the existing geometry, instead of pressing G, you press G twice, and this lets you slide the edge without deforming the mesh. And now I'm just moving vertices around to get a nicer shape. Now I'm gonna press the O key to activate the proportional edit mode, which you can find up here. So this circle you see is the fall off area. Everything that falls into the circle will be affected. You can change the size of the circle by pressing the page up and page down keys on your keyboard. And I think you can also do this with the mouse wheel. In object mode, we hit Shift A and we add another round cube. And then G and Z to move it down on the Z axis. Now let's scale it in with S and go into edit mode. We'll delete half of it with X. Go to the modifiers tab here on the right. We add a mirror modifier, check clipping, and now we add the subdiv modifier with 2 levels of subdivision. Now I'm gonna grab all this chunk of vertices and I'm gonna press R to rotate them. And I'm gonna place them here so I can extrude the legs in a minute. But first I'm gonna move some vertices to fix the topology. And now I'm gonna select this vertex here, press X and delete it, select the whole loop with double click in the direction of the loop, then right click, loop tools and circle. And now extrude down with E. Let's adjust the skies a bit. Extrude down again, press S and Z to scale only on the Z axis to align all the vertices vertically. Extrude down again, and now let's close the foot with one more extrude down, and let's scale this loop in. Wait, let's do the arms first, and then we can go back and work on the boot. Let's select this vertex here, delete it, right click, loop tools, circle, and we'll start extruding the arm out. And to finish it, we extrude one last time, press M, and center to collapse the vertices and close the hole. Let's add more loops with Ctrl R so we can define the shape better. And now let's bring these guys down. And let's move some stuff around to get the mesh all flowing nicely. I'm gonna work on the side view now, and because there's no reference for it, just make it as chubby as you want. And now let's go into object mode, right click and shade smooth. We're gonna build a t-shirt now, so we're gonna lasso select all of these vertices here. Press Shift D, duplicate, we move them around just anywhere, and then do not press the left click right now. Press the escape key instead, so the vertices get duplicated, but they stay in their original place. And now we hit P on the keyboard to bring the separate menu up, and we choose selection. And this is optional, but I'm gonna change the viewport color for the t-shirt just to see it better. I'm gonna go to the object properties tab here, and on viewport display, I'm gonna choose a random color. Change the shading to solid, and then go in, and from this menu here, let's choose studio lighting and object color. And now let's go into edit mode. We choose all these vertices here, and we press S and Z to scale them all down on the Z axis. Now let's scale them up, and let's move some vertices around to get some nice flowing geometry. Let's select the loop again and extrude down. Let's go into object mode and scale the t-shirt up a little bit. Now let's select the body and go into edit mode so we can work in the boots. I'm gonna add one loop here. We're gonna press 3 to enter face select mode, and let's select these faces here. And let's extrude them out with E and Y. And I press 7 to go to the top view, and we scale this part in with S and X. Now we bring these guys down. We add one more loop here for tension. And I'm gonna move some vertices around to shape out the front of the boot. And now let's close it by selecting these 4 vertices and pressing F to create a face. We do the same here, and one last time here. And now this little guy is all modeled up, so I'm gonna go up here on the outliner menu and do some renaming. So first let's apply all the mirror modifiers. And let's start with the head. We go to edit mode. We press the number 2 to enter edge select mode. Let's select the loop that's right in the middle by double clicking on the edge. And we hit Ctrl E, mark seam. Now we do the same with the t-shirt and the body. And when we get to this part, I just select the boot sole and mark new seams. Now in object mode, we're gonna select all of our objects. Let's make the right window bigger. And we're gonna go up here and change the editor type to UV editor. And now we enter edit mode. Hit A to select everything. Press U to bring up the UV mapping menu, and we select unwrap. Now you can leave the UVs as they are now, but I'm gonna try and optimize this space a bit. And I'm gonna forward this part a bit, because you can arrange your islands however you want and it will surely be fine. So next we're gonna create a material with a blank image attached to it so we can paint it here in Blender. We go here in the Materials tab and create a new material. Let's left click and drag this window up, and we're gonna change the editor type to Shader Editor. So we have our default principled shader, and we're gonna hit Shift A, Texture, Image Texture. We're gonna go plug color to base color, press New, and we're gonna double the size of the image by typing an asterisk and then 2. This multiplies the value here by 2, which is a great feature if you suck at math like I do. And now I'm gonna change the color to white, and I'm gonna rename the texture. Let's change the interpolation of the image node from linear to closest so our texture looks sharper. And now I'm gonna change the material name. Now here on the UV editor, we're gonna load the texture we just made from this drop-down menu here. I'm gonna duplicate the reference image, move it to a side, and turn the transparency up because we're gonna use it to color pick from it. And you know what? I'm gonna use this window down here to preview our texture, so let me change the editor type to UV editor. And then up here we'll change the 3D viewport. Now we press Z to bring up the shading menu and switch to Material Preview. And now with the head selected, we're gonna press Tab and enter Texture Paint. Now I can hit N or press this miniature plus icon here, and then click on the Tools tab to enter the Texture Paint tools. So first let's make sure here on the texture slots we have our blank frog texture. Then here on the brush settings under Blend, Mix is the normal mode for painting, Radius is the brush size, and Strength is the opacity. And then you can click on this, guys, if you're using a tablet and you want to use pressure sensitivity. And then down here on Symmetry, we turn X on, so we paint only on one side. But actually, let's start blocking in the base color with the paint bucket, and then we change back to the brush to draw the details. So let's choose it from this menu on the left, and then down here, we're gonna click and color pick the skin color. Here you can create color palettes, so you don't need to go color picking each time you have a repeated color. And if you want, you can name it, and then press the plus button and the color gets stored here. And now we just go and click on the head. Let's go now to object mode, select the body and enter texture paint mode again. And see there's an orange warning sign down here? That's because I forgot to add a material. So let's go to the Materials tab and add our Froggy material from the drop-down menu. And now we go and click on the body. Now let's color pick the t-shirt. Oh, but again, let's go into object mode and give it the material. And now back into texture paint, we can fill it. Now let's color pick the sleeves, but this time we can use a hotkey. So we just hover over the image and press S, and that brings the color picker up real quick. And now I'm gonna choose the brush tool from up here so I can start painting the details. And to scale the brush, you just need to press F and then drag and click to confirm. And I'm gonna click on Symmetry first. I'm gonna change the solid mode on this window and choose some texture here so I can see the colors a bit better. And I'm tracing my own concept, but now that you know the basics of texture painting, you can customize the frog if you want to. Oh, and check this out. If you need to change the brush hardness, you go down here under fall off. And let's see. Maybe this one? Yes, constant to get a super hard brush. I think I like this one, so I'll keep it like this. You can also paint directly on the texture down here. You just need to change the editor type to image editor, and then from view to paint. And anything you paint here on the texture gets updated on the model, which is pretty awesome. Here you can change blend modes, just like in Photoshop, so I'm gonna use multiply to darken some areas. I turned the symmetry off for this. And I'm not really erasing here, I'm just painting with a purple color. Now once you're done painting, see down here the word image has an asterisk? That's because we need to save this texture we're painting on. And do not forget this step or you will lose all your work, which I'm not ashamed to say it happened to me a bunch of times. So image, save as. Let's add a studio background now. So we first go into edit mode, we press 1 to change to vertex select mode, and let's use the lasso tool to select some random vertices here on the bottom of the shoe. We hit Shift S to bring the snap menu up, and we choose cursor to select it. So now we have the cursor placed exactly where we want the floor to spawn. And now we hit Shift A, mesh, plane, and let's press S and drag to scale it up. Now we enter edit mode, we press 2 for edge select mode, we select this edge on the back, and we press E and Z to extrude on the Z axis. And now we'll go to object mode, we'll click on modifier stuff, and we're gonna add a bevel modifier. We're gonna change the segments, I just randomly went for 5, and now right click and shade smooth. Next we give it a material, so we go to the materials tab and hit new. And then we just change the base color from here. We don't need any node editor wizardry for this. Now let's go up here and let's press Z to bring up the shading menu and choose render. Before working on the lights, let's set up the camera. And we already have our default camera, but if you press Ctrl, Alt and numpad 0, it aligns the camera to our view. or kind of. And I guess I wasn't viewing the frog full from the front, so I'm gonna select the camera and fix it manually from the item menu up here. Let's make X 0 so it's centered horizontally. Now let's change the aspect ratio, so let's go here to the scene settings, and I'm gonna make it, I don't know, 1920 by 1920. Now we go to the camera settings and let's change the focal length to zoom out. No, wait, I'm gonna change the camera type to orthographic. And now let's decrease the orthographic scale. I'm gonna play around the camera position and the orthographic scale so the framing looks closer to my concept. And now let's go into render settings. I'm gonna add some ambient occlusion, and I'm gonna change the distance to 1, but you can try different numbers and see what you prefer. And finally, I'm gonna turn on screen space reflections. Now I'm gonna move the default light to maybe here. I'm gonna hit Shift D to duplicate this light. And I'm gonna place it back here. Let's hide this guy now by hitting H. Let's select the main light again and turn on contact shadows. Now I'm just trying some stuff out. And now let's go to the world tab, change the world color, and let's lower the strength. Now let's go back to the scene settings, and this is a personal preference. Here in color management, I'm gonna bring the gamma down to give it like a bit more contrast. I'm gonna move this light a bit closer. I'm gonna turn on bloom to get this hazy effect. Change the intensity to 1. Change the color and lower the radius. Nothing specific, just play around till it looks nice. I enter the top view with numpad 7 and I select this light and I press Shift D to duplicate it, and I'm gonna send it back to illuminate the background. And I'm gonna lower the power a bit. And I don't like that light reflection where the background curves, so I'm gonna make that curve bigger. And that's basically it. Now that you know how to model and texture paint a frog, let's see what you can come up with.